The 50th anniversary season of Super Sentai has just begun, and man is it crazy! Hello everyone, it's thomasjujube, and I love episode 1 of No.1 Sentai Gozyuger. Make sure you comment your thoughts below because, wow, there's so much to this. I'm really excited. So let's just jump right into it, alright? Spoilers incoming. The opening is about what I expected, because we've been seeing it in all the trailers, and it was basically the entirety of episode 0. It was nice to see it in its entirety. It was cool to see Tegasword holding Boondario because it's the last season. Kind of been a bad couple months for Boondario, but oh well. There's like a lot of random picks from like recent Reiwa seasons, which was a lot of fun. And in the wide shot, you can see that one of the fallen mechas is Majin. You can see Majin's wing a lot. So this is the worst first episode of a Super Sentai ever, actually. One thing that's kind of funny is that after episode 0, I literally said in that short review, go check that out, like, this feels a little redundant because it feels like just exposition that we can get in the show, and then they basically just recreated this in the show with the actual suit, so it actually just looks better, because it is basically the entire story. They just cut out the opening part with the evil Calamity robots. So that does make me wonder, like, I assume those are still a part of the show, right? Because it's weird to put that in an episode 0 and then get rid of them for the rest of the show. But because they're not mentioned here, like, I'm still just curious what their inclusion in the show is going to be. Because episode 0 is the only mention of them. And now we have, like, the rest of this flashback sequence. I assume Calamity is going to be the true villain of Gozyuger. It's just weird that they're keeping it a secret, but not really. Like, should they have been revealing that in an episode 0? I don't know. As for the actual villains in this first episode, Brydon, I thought they were really interesting. Like, one of the most interesting parts of this episode. Fire Candle, when he shows up, he says he's here to be the savior of this world, and Bouquet, when she's facing off with Horu, I forgot how I'm supposed to say it, Horu. She says they're after the Tegasword Red Ring to save the two worlds. Now, Fire Candle is straight up destroying buildings, and they're sending out monsters to attack people, so I'm a little curious, like, what their goal here is to save people by destroying buildings. But either way, like, it seems like they have good intentions, kind of. Maybe not, like, there's some kind of idealistic goal here. So maybe that's what Calamity is. Calamity is going to end up being the true villains of this show, and Brydon, like, Fire Candle and Bouquet, really, I could see them both getting redeemed. Fire Candle, at least, mentioned something about Brydon being from making the human world, and they come from No.1 world. That's what Bouquet says, and we don't really get any more info on No.1 world, other than the fact that Horu seems to come from there. So it just, again, there's like a lot of interesting stuff here with Brydon that I wasn't expecting we would get. They definitely seem like a cool little villain faction. I like the dynamic between the two guys we see now, and we know we're getting the main villain in charge next week. And I especially like that Fire Candle gets to be like the main fighter in his own mecha. That was really cool. Like, I like the mecha fight was really the main part of this episode, and then we got the civilian fight, or the on the ground fight after. We don't really get that, at least for episode 1s, and that makes sense because Tegasword is so important, but I still thought it was cool. Speaking of Horu, I thought his character setup in this episode was pretty cool. I think it's pretty unique to have a Red that explicitly does not have any goals or ambitions, and all of this is just trying to find something to wish for along the way. Now, that could also come across maybe a little boring, like a guy that doesn't really want to do anything, so I like that they gave him like a couple little quirks in here, like the entire introduction scene, which is so bizarre, like just the whole little sequence there, especially like he tries to fight with like a sausage, and the sausage juice gets in a criminal's eye, and then he gets fired after all of that. It's pretty funny, but it's also like a crazy way to introduce a character. And then also, like, when he says he's gonna fight Brydon, he says, like, oh, I'll take you on to find my wish and to get a new job, because he's been fired from his current job, and also because he owes someone 250 yen, and they like explicitly show that. I don't know, it's like, kind of weird, but it makes him endearing. And also, 250 yen is only $2. It's less than $2, I mean, American dollars. So that just shows how broke he is, that he can't afford to pay back less than $2. I also liked his dialogue about taking a chance on getting Tegasword's powers, even if it kills him, because of what he said earlier about it doesn't matter what happens to him because no one cares. There's no one who actually cares for him. So if there's a chance to save people and it might kill him, what the hell, I'll go for it. I thought that was pretty interesting. He already seems like a really compelling character. I'm looking forward to getting a lot more of him, especially because there's some stuff we know is coming for him, toy-wise at least. In a weird way, this kind of felt like an episode of Kamen Rider, because it's just one guy taking on the powers of this god and transforming and fighting. We don't see any other Gozyugers transforming and fighting. And I thought that was an interesting thing. It let us get all that focus on Huaru, so we could move on to the other characters next time. Speaking of the other characters, we do get them cameoing, of course, and we see they already have their rings and presumably a contract with Tegasword. So, just like before the show started, I'm still curious actually, I'm even more curious what's going on here, because this episode establishes that Huaru form a direct contract with Tegasword using Tegasword's like actual head. They say that ring is the core of Tegasword or something. So, what did the other Rangers do to get contracts with a Tegasword, but not like different colored rings and Ranger forms? And when we know when they get mecha forms, they augment Tegasword. They're not using normal Tegasword. So I'm really curious to see what is happening there, like how that happened for all of, where they got the powers, why are the powers different from Red. I'm also curious to see what's going on with, or why all 5 of these characters at least get special treatment compared to our special Sentai Reds that we're going to be getting fighting. And let's talk about Kuwagataya Oger. What a crazy part of this episode. Of course, we've known about past Sentai Reds appearing from the trailer, but we didn't know who was going to be playing them until this episode. And they're not just past Sentai actors, but like the first character to transform in this show is the Red Ranger of the show that just ended, and he's transforming into the Red Ranger of the show that ended last year. If that alone wasn't awesome, like crazy awesome, I also thought the writing was awesome because he's like a stereotypical Red Ranger. He talks about like fighting to protect people's wishes. He gets into the fight because people are in danger. But he's a weird offshoot Red Ranger instead. He's a Kuwagata Oger using a different transformation device. And it's like in a different show I could see him being the Red Ranger and Huaru's like the other focused Gozyuger like Mira or Oni's sister compared to Taya and Damo Mutaro in those seasons. And then, I mean, there is also the fact he goes after Huaru at the end, which actually isn't too dissimilar from Dawn Brothers, which is kind of funny. I don't think that was intentional, but I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of this fight, because they're fighting. We're getting Rangers fighting. The Gozyugers are going to be fighting other Red Rangers. That's such an awesome little element to the season. But now the floodgates are opened for other now we know they're going to be doing a thing with past actors returning and transforming to Reds that they do not previously transform into. So the one thing that's kind of funny is I've seen people on Twitter suggesting a bunch of ideas, and they're like tangentially connected, but Taya has no connection to King Oger. I mean, other than the Versus movie that got announced last week, there's no connection there. So it really isn't like, there's like something similar here. No, it seems like they're just going to be like, Ryusoul Red is coming in. Let's grab a guy from 10 years ago or something. Like, I don't think there's any connection that they're going to be doing. That being said, again, we know there's a Ryusoul Red and a Don Momotaro versus Sentai characters appearing. So let me know your predictions or your hopes, whatever, for who's going to transform into those guys in the future episodes.
While editing this, I was informed by Legion Man on Twitter that apparently his name means jujube, which is insane. I don't know, surely is that a coincidence? Yeah, my jaw quite literally fell open when I looked that up, so Thank you for letting me know, and I'm not sure what to do with this information now.
And there were so many surprises in this I wasn't expecting. If you want to see my reaction to each of the different surprises, make sure you check out Kez's channel for the reaction stream I did with her and Marcos. I'll leave it linked, the video linked in the description. Like, it's a small thing, but I didn't think the Tegasword changers were going to be actually opening up to transform into the actual Tegasword. I thought that was just going to be a gimmick. I mean, I thought Tegasword will probably do that, but I didn't think the changers would do that. And I thought it was really cool that, like, he physically opens it up and turns it into a little toy that he holds and, like, sits in the transformation, or in the mecha cockpit. That was a lot of fun. We see Yellow's going to be doing that as well. And it's, like, a really fun, like, addition to the show, but also it's obviously, like, a clear marketing ploy for the toys. And, hey, guess what? It worked on me. I think it's really cool that the changer is the mecha this season. And I think the Sentai rings are cool, so I will be doing an unboxing video in the upcoming week once I get my Tegasword and I do an unboxing. So make sure you subscribe for that. And if you want to see the full footage early, make sure you become a member to this channel or check out my Patreon for all of that. And you even get this whole review here in an extended footage format. Another thing I wasn't expecting was the civilian outfit in the mecha fight. I don't think we've ever gotten anything like that, at least not in the recent years. So that's a lot of fun. I think that's a cool thing. Again, we're seeing Yellow is going to be getting that, so that's just going to be a thing for all of them. And it's kind of fun because I think it's supposed to be like they're untransforming when they're opening the changer. That's why they lose the suit, but they're using Tegasword's power so they get something there. I think that's the idea. It's pretty fun. The actual, like, suits, everything is still absolutely gorgeous. Tegasword is so cool. I love the fight sequence, all the fire, and I still love the Goju Wolf suit, one of my favorite Red Ranger suits in Sentai. I'm glad it got so much focus and screen time in this episode. And I also love all of the crazy effects they've put in, like the pre-fight introduction sequence, like it's a sport event, craziest thing we've gotten in a while. The finisher splash text and the victory text, or this victory screen, sorry, all reminded me a lot of Kamen Rider X-Aid, where we got finisher text basically a lot like the ones in here. The victory screen, the pre-fight thing is not really in the X-Aid show, however, it did remind me a lot of X-Aid's cameo fight in the Kamen Rider Ghost movie. So I thought that was kind of funny. Either way, like it's really cool how they're playing into like the battle royale fight versus thing, from like ring changer devices to like a fighting ring, which is like the Tegasword stock footage, and obviously like the wrestling boxing kind of pre-fight sequence, and rings also tying into like wedding rings, and that's why Brydon is all bridal themed. All of this is fitting together so nicely. And then on top of that, we got previous Sentai Reds appearing because it's the 50th anniversary. All of this is just so cool, and I cannot wait for the rest of #1 Sentai Gozyuger. I'm locked in. I'm so excited for this show. And if you want to hear my thoughts on the rest of this season, make sure you subscribe to this channel and check out the Shorts tab, where I'll be giving my thoughts weekly, just like I did for boonboomger and I'm currently doing for Kamen Rider Gavu. Make sure again to let me know your thoughts on this first episode, and I hope to see you next time. Alright, no time to waste. Time to record.